Welcome back, book buddies. Today we are going to read 2 of the stories from Peppa's Bedtime Treasury book. Today's stories are The Train Ride, The Wishing Well. Let's go. The Train Ride. Today, Madame Gazelle, Peppa and her friends are going on a train ride. Can I see your tickets, please? Mr. Rabbit asks them. The children wave their tickets in the air. Oh no, I've lost my ticket, Pedro cries. There's your ticket, Mademoiselle says, pointing to a ticket on the ground. Try not to lose it again, says Mr. Rabbit, smiling. Miss Rabbit is the train driver. All aboard, she calls as the train pulls into the station. The children and Madame Gazelle jump onto the train. The train pulls out of the station and heads down the hill. Toot! Madame Gazelle gives the children an activity sheet. They have to spot a boat, a signal box, and a tunnel. Just then, Peppa says, I can see Grandad Dog. Ahoy there, Grandad Dog calls. Toot, toot, toot. Hooray, the children cheer. Then they tick boat on their activity sheets. Pedro doesn't feel very well, so Madame Gazelle lets him go to the front of the train. Miss Rabbit lets him wear her hat and drive the train for a bit, which makes him feel much better. The train puffs slowly uphill. The train puffs quickly downhill. Whee! Cry the children. The train stops at the junction to let Mrs. Duck and her friends safely across. A signal box, that's on our list, says Peppa. Hooray, the children cheer. And then they tick signal box on their activity sheets. The train sets off again. Toot toot. Suddenly, it all goes dark. Oh, we're in a tunnel, Peppa says. The children tick tunnel on their activity sheets. Last stop, Miss Rabbit calls. But Madame Gazelle, how will we get home? Peppa asks. We are home, Peppa, Madame Gazelle replies. The train has gone in a big circle, so they are right back where they started. Tickets, please, Mr. Rabbit says one last time. When Pedro lifts up the hat, there is his ticket. Oh, that's where I put it, Pedro says, and everybody giggles. There's the ticket. The last story is The Wishing Well. Grandpa Pig is showing Peppa and George his plants. He is very proud of his garden. What is this, Grandpa? asks Peppa. It's a weed, replies Grandpa. A cheeky plant growing in the wrong spot. We must get rid of it. Granny Pig joins them in the garden. This little plastic gnome is going to live in our garden, says Granny. His name is Mr. Gnome. Oh, no, he isn't, snorts Grandpa. He looks funny. Peppa and George says, Granny, do you think Mr. Gnome looks funny? No, Granny, replies Peppa. I think he looks cute. Cute, agrees George. You're outnumbered, I'm afraid, Grandpa, cries Granny. Mr. Gnome is staying in the garden. Just then, Mr. Bull arrives with a truck full of gnomes. Gardens are for plants, not plastic, Grandpa tells Mr. Bull. We don't want gnomes. Toot toot. But these are Granny's gnomes, says Peppa. Oh, it appears we do want gnomes, says Grandpa. Okie dokie, says Mr. Bull, tipping them onto the grass. Clang, clatter. Peppa, George and Granny Pig stare at the enormous pile of gnomes. They make the garden look messy. Wow, says Peppa. They are lovely, but Grandpa Pig doesn't think so. I have this for you too, says Mr. Bull, giving Granny and Grandpa Pig a big box. Thank you, Mr. Bull. That's my plastic well, says Granny. What's the point of a well without water? Asks Grandpa. It's a wishing well, says Granny. You throw a coin in it and make a wish. Ooh, can I make a wish? Peppa asks. Of course, Peppa, replies Granny, giving Peppa and George a coin each. Peppa and George throw their coins in the well and make a wish. Later, Peppa tells George what they wished for. We wish that we could have a wishing well and gnomes in our garden too, Peppa says. I think we can make that wish come true, says Grandpa. Splish! Grandpa Pig drives Peppa and George home to Mummy and Daddy Pig. Mummy, Daddy, cries Peppa. I made a wish. What did you wish for, Peppa? Asked Daddy Pig. Lots of gnomes and a wishing well for our garden, cries Peppa. I don't think we have enough room for all those gnomes, says Mummy Pig, looking at the big pile Grandpa is carrying. Nonsense, replies Grandpa. You've got plenty of room. Oh, says Daddy Pig, uncertainly. I suppose we do. The gnomes and wishing well take up the whole of the garden. Peppa and George are very happy. And Grandpa Pig is happy too. And there's Peppa and George and the wishing well. The end. Thank you very much for joining me again today. Do come back so we can read more books together. Please like and subscribe. Bye.